Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I'm your host, Derek J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Our first guest is founder and organizer of Live, Love Animal Rescue. Please join me in welcoming Emily Ann Ghosh. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Derek. How's it going?
Good. Now, I'm welcoming you, but it looks like we need to welcome someone else.
This is the star. She's the true star. This is Mishi.
Mishi.
She is one of our most noteworthy rescues in 2017. So she's very happy to be here.
Good. Well, we're going to get into more about Mishi and
Sure.
her comrades, but let's talk about you. I mean, you were clearly one of the most recognized people in this community just because of what you do, specifically with animals and animal rescue, so much so that the Long Beach Post named you one of the 40 under 40.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, and tell us more about you before we get into animal rescue.
Sure, yeah. So I came to California 7 years ago.
Okay.
Her son, her puppy's in the green room, so she's a little anxious right now. But
Okay.
I came to California 7 years ago after living in Tennessee and working at veterinary hospitals,
Okay.
and started the pet care business, Live, Love Pet Care, and that quickly merged into an animal rescue group as well, Live, Love Animal Rescue.
Right.
And now those two organizations have been in existence for 6 years here in Long Beach, and we're thriving. We're loving our time here and all of the time we spend with the dogs and cats.
So what sets Live Love apart when you think about animal rescue and how others do it?
Yeah, dogs like Mishi set us apart. We take on some of the most difficult medical and behavior cases in this community for rescue, and we do it with a level of consideration and care for the animals that I think makes us all really proud on the rescue team. It's an honor to work with them, and they provide us so much in return for what we've given them.
And you say you have a team. I mean, you mentioned team.
Yes.
So how many people do you have working with you on this?
Well, we have 7 board members, and then, it's okay, Mishi, and then we have over 50 foster parents and many more volunteers. So we've got a rescue family of around 100. That doesn't include donors and other people who assist along the way too.
Now, foster parents. So
Yes.
I was going to ask about that. So tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so when this first started, I was fostering all the dogs myself, and that is a lot of work. So as we grew and my house kept getting smaller because of all the dogs I had, we started realizing we need to involve the community in this rescue process and the rescue journey that these animals take with us. So foster parents are people who open their home to animals in need of rehabilitation, medical, physical. Sometimes it's animals that are just, like the little guy, Bub, that we rescued last night that just needs a safe place to land, and he's a puppy. He needs some basic obedience and behavior training. So the fosters are really what have allowed us to grow in this way, because with those foster homes, we're able to help more animals.
So in the time that you've been doing this, I read that you've saved over 1,000 lives of dogs in this community.
Yes.
Give people perspective. How big is the issue of rescue here in Long Beach?
It's a pretty big issue, I would say. There's, regularly, if you ever follow social media, there's regularly posts of dogs that have been found or are missing, or, we have a wide array of communities here within Long Beach, and everyone are dog lovers. So there's a lot of dogs in this area, and that means there's more dogs that go missing or, are losing their home because someone's moving or, whatever the situation might be. So we do have the fantastic, Long Beach Animal Care Services that does provide a great service to the city, but they can only do so much, and they don't have the facility to house all of these dogs, especially that need a place to go. So we really pride ourselves in stepping in and helping the ones like Mishi that are most urgent, either behaviorally or medically, that just won't do well in a shelter environment and need an alternate space to recoup and find another home.
Now, how's your relationship with the animal shelter? Do you guys have a formal relationship, or?
Yeah, we don't have a formal partnership, but we did, we pulled over 60 dogs from them last year.
Wow.
So we definitely do our fair share. Like, that's our main shelter that we pull dogs from. And dogs like Mishi, that shelter will contact us and say, we have an extreme case. Can you take her? Because she was one that, they would have had to euthanize. Her issue was so severe.
So you're literally saving lives in that regard. Because
Yes.
given
Yeah.
the two extremes, you step in and help out then.
Totally. Yeah, and it's we have that partnership with the shelter where they'll notify us and say, do you guys have space to help this one because we can't help this one.
Gotcha.
So that's a really awesome partnership to have.
Share one of your most noteworthy rescue stories.
Mishi, of course.
Mishi, okay.
So
she's a star all the way around.
She is, with her little tongue hanging out. So she was picked up by an animal control officer, Officer Taylor, who we admire and appreciate so much. And her eye, you notice she's missing an eye now. So her eye was, 5 times the size it should have been, and just really angry and infected and bulging. And that eye had to be removed. When the eye was removed, thanks to the medical team at Primary Care Animal Hospital, that's our partner vet, we determined that she had meningiosarcoma, which is brain cancer, essentially.
Wow.
So she is what we call a forever foster, so she will stay under the rescue's care for forever. She is such a remarkable rescue story for the fact that she survived that surgery, and even throughout that surgery, she another thing survived. She actually turned out to be pregnant and had one puppy that was born by C-section because he's so large, and his name is Legend. So,
he is a legend.
He is a legend. So by saving her life, we actually saved 2 lives, and that, is really special to us. She's very special. So that's why she's here with me today. And she knows she's a superstar too. She has no denying that. She broke the internet for a day, that day that we rescued her.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, we had a lot of engagement on her posts, and a lot of people followed her story, and she's been a blessing to the organization because it's brought more awareness to what we do and more donations so that we can help more dogs.
Now, is the internet basically how you keep everyone in the loop on what you're doing and how they can be engaged, whether it's a foster parent or a volunteer? Yeah. Is that the best way, through social media, et cetera?
Social media is really helpful for us. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and we definitely put the call out when we get a new dog or when we need donations, or we put the word out to our team to help share the rescue story and the rescue journey of each particular dog.
Now, you mentioned donations. What types of donation? Is it donation of time, donation of goods and services?
Everything. Yeah, much like you guys at Long Beach Community Action Partnership, we appreciate everything: time, talent, treasure, any way that people want to and can help support us in our mission, we're grateful for.
What's your ultimate vision for Live Love? I mean, I often joke, but seriously speaking, that if I were to believe in reincarnation, I'd come back as a dog in Long Beach, because we got the beach, we've got the restaurants welcoming me. It's a very dog-friendly city, I would think. But what's your vision for what you're doing in the community?
Yeah, we would like to continue with our growth pattern. Last year we helped almost 200 dogs, and this year we're on track to do even more. So my vision is to continue growing, to continue new partnerships with other nonprofits in the community, and just getting people involved in what rescue is, in adopting and fostering, educating the community about spay-neuter, and then hopefully someday having a little rescue sanctuary so we can just have a bunch of our forever fosters living there happily on the Live Love Ranch.
Right.
So that's the ultimate goal, is to have that sanctuary. Yeah.
Now, you Foster the Fourth. What is that program?
Yeah, so Foster the Fourth is one of the ways that we partner with the Long Beach City Shelter, and that is where we take out the longest residents of the shelter to free up kennel space so that animals aren't euthanized just for space. And we do that by having temporary fosters sign up. I know, Mishi, it's okay. We have temporary fosters sign up for that 2-week program, and then they foster for 2 weeks, and we work on finding the dogs homes during that 2-week temporary foster. And then the ones that don't find homes go back to the shelter, and by that time, the owners have come to reclaim their dogs that were spooked by the fireworks, and it's a good process all around. It helps in a lot of ways. It definitely saves lives. Last year, we took 20 dogs out of the shelter, and we saved 10 others through stray intervention, and all 30 of those dogs are safe thanks to those efforts. So,
what if I'm a youth in the community that has a passion for pets and dogs specifically?
Yeah.
Do you have programs to get younger people involved as volunteers as well?
Well, we're working on that, but definitely, Mishi, I know. Definitely we want them to come to our adoption events and meet the dogs we have available. The youth are definitely more savvy on social media than we are, so please come to our event and take pictures and share and cross-post for us and help us, get some traction on social media.
So even if they can't get out to the event, they can at least help.
Totally.
Now,
Yeah,
where are
follow
the
us.
events typically? We only have a few minutes left. Where?
Yeah, so we have events at Pet Food Express on Long Beach Boulevard,
Okay.
at Pussy and Pooch in Belmont Shore, at
Right.
Petco in Long Beach, in different, varied locations throughout the year. They can follow our social media and see where we'll be at, and also email us to check in.
Okay, and again, that would be via your website and
Yes,
all the
so
social
it's
media links.
liveloveanimalrescue.org, and then on Facebook it's Live Love Pets, and then on Instagram it's Live Love Animal Rescue.
Now, as we do this particular interview with you, we're beginning a new year. What would you like to look back on in 2018 and say, wow, we were able to accomplish this in 2018?
That's a good question. I think, we're really working on creating some meaningful programs with our nonprofit for the community. Up till now, it's been, we network each individual dog, we fundraise each individual dog, and now we're trying to define some succinct programs and ways that we help the community so that we can achieve more community support for those programs.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're working on in 2018.
Well,
Misha, you're very antsy, I know. She's like, I'm done with this
And we're
interview.
almost done, yes. And she had so much to say.
She did
Thank
good. You did good, honey.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, because I
Absolutely.
know that that's a great need that you serve, and thanks to all your volunteers that are
Yes.
working with you.
It wouldn't work without them.
Right. I know that's the way things work
It
in
is.
our business, right, as nonprofits. Come back and see us sometime, will you?
Anytime. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Derek. I really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, my pleasure. Get in touch with Emily. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will meet with boss, founder, and president, Everett Glenn. Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Lens.
Hi, my name is James Stewart. I'm the Boat Programs Coordinator at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, and you're watching PadNet TV. Here in Southern California, we will see blue whales, fin whales like we saw today on the Whale Watch, humpback whales, we've seen orca in the area, we've seen sperm whales. There's 4 species of dolphin that we typically see: the common dolphin, bottlenose dolphin, Rizzos. There's just so much variety that we get here in Southern California, and we get different seasons with different frequencies. So we're just about into gray whale season, so we'll see mostly them. Summer is mostly blue whale season. Fin whales like today we could see any time of year. So there's some whales that are more frequently at different times of year, but typically we can see something out on a whale watch. This area in around the LA and Long Beach port system has a unique sea floor geography that really provides a strong ecosystem for a lot of different varieties of fish, plankton, whales, seals and sea lions. The unique combination of all these things in our climate and our weather patterns create a bountiful environment for a lot of species. I would say my favorite thing to tell guests about the fin whale is that their lower jaw has 2 different colors. On the left side is dark, like dark gray, and the right side is kind of a lighter cream or more white color. And because of that, when they're surface feeding, if you imagine they turn their head to open their mouth and scoop across the surface of the water, there's a color pattern adaptation called counter shading. So if you're dark on top and light on the bottom, you can hide from your prey. And we get to take the guests out there to experience that. And we get to interact with the guests and help them learn about the animals and the special nature of these animals. Why are they here in California? What is so important about these animals being in California? And for a lot of our guests, those conversations we get to have, our naturalists on the boat walking around, bringing out artifacts to share about the animals, that is so much fun to me. I love science and I love the ocean, but education is just such an important part for helping other people get excited about science too. The partnership we have with the Harbor Breeze Cruises is great because they have the crew that takes the boat out into the water. And then we staff the naturalists that can help educate the guests that are on the boat. So many of them are from out of town. Even if they're from California, they may have never seen a whale before. So just to get the people on the water and that awe-inspiring moment of right when we get on top next to a whale and you hear the whale, you see it, and you just hear all the guests go, oh, because they haven't seen something like that before. That's so much fun that we get to have these guests on the boat out in the ocean and have a safe interaction with an animal, but also teach them about that animal and the interactions of the humans and the urban ocean and the animals together in their ecosystem is a very enjoyable environment, and it's amazing that we get to do this. If you want to learn about the times to go out on the boats, you can look at Harbor Breeze's website. We also, since we partner with them, you can also look at the Aquarium of the Pacific's website, and you can learn about the whales. We have a whale blog that we write, so that the information that we've done over the last 2 weeks of being on their boat, getting to experience these animals, we publish that on our website.
Welcome back to Long Beach Lens. I'm Derek J. Simpson. Our next guest is founder and president of Business of Success Beyond Sports, or BOSS. Please join me in welcoming Everett Glenn.
Hey.
Welcome, brother.
Good to be
So,
here.
BOSS is where you're at now.
Yes.
But there was a journey for you in terms of what you've accomplished in your career. And one of the things that I read about in preparing for this, even though I know you, was about the pioneering aspect of you as a sports attorney.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, give us just a snapshot of what that part of your career was all about.
I started when I was in college. I'd made the decision I wanted to be involved somehow in sports. And I knew I wasn't good enough to play. Mm-hmm. And a teacher in junior high school had, she convinced me I could become a lawyer. And then she took me to some places, introduced me to some lawyers, and I saw how they lived, and I said, okay, this is pretty good. And so I combined the two, my love for sports, having played sports since I could walk,
right,
with representing guys. And I took a view of the landscape, and I saw that most of the guys didn't have real lawyers even at that time. There was no requirement that an agent be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And now, for example, you have to have an advanced degree. Mm-hmm. And so there were a lot of people representing players who really couldn't take them and help them turn their 15 minutes of fame, we say, into a lifetime of good fortune.
Right.
And so I did my due diligence and identified this guy, Clark Kellogg, who was from my hometown of Cleveland. And
basketball.
Yeah, made 2 phone calls, because I was a proponent of networking, even at a young age, and it's only 6 degrees of separation. So I made 2 phone calls, and I got a meeting with Clark Kellogg. And Clark was a smart guy, actually had his insurance license when he was 18, and he was looking for someone like me. In fact, we asked him, we know you can play basketball. And at this time, now he was a lottery pick. He was 2-time MVP of the Big Ten. So he was surefire NBA. But the question we wanted to ask him was, what else can you do besides play basketball? Mm-hmm. And he says, okay, these are the guys I want. Mm-hmm. And so after Clark, Anthony Hancock was also from Cleveland, my hometown, and he was a first-round draft pick by the Kansas City Chiefs in that same year. So my first 2 clients were first-round draft picks, one a lottery pick, and the other, I think Anthony was about 18 in the first round. And it just snowballed from there. I mean, I had 4 number 1s in a row out of University of Tennessee, Reggie White, Willie Gault, Anthony Hancock, and Clyde Duncan. And then a guy that I knew at Jackson State called me one day and said that would I be interested in representing this guy named Jerry Rice. I had never heard of Jerry Rice.
Right.
Down at Mississippi Valley. But his brother's wife worked at Jackson State, and I had represented a baseball player from Jackson State, so the coach called me. And I flew down to Jackson, Mississippi, and spent all day with Tom Rice, Jerry's brother. And at the end, he said, okay, I want you to represent Jerry. And so again, it was, you couldn't have planned that kind of success. You couldn't have brought it. It was just God working in my life. Right. So what we've done now with BOSS is really just take those same kind of principles where we show these guys how to take this 15 minutes of fame and turn it into a lifetime of good fortune, is to show these kids how if you can adopt an academic and athletic and a life balance, then no matter how far sports take you, it would still be a platform for success for the rest of your life.
So for those who don't know anything about BOSS, explain the concept and what's involved and who's involved.
Well, BOSS is, there's a lot of references to the Bible. Like, we don't preach to kids, but that's where I get my strength from. And so just like a little yeast can spread through a whole loaf of bread, so we've identified student athletes because that's where I spend a lot of time. And I'm a former athlete myself, so I know the power of sports and how it can impact a life. So our focus is on the student athlete and help the student athlete adopt this academic, athletic, and life balance, and then model that behavior for his non-athlete peers so we can attack this, in my opinion, the most critical problem we face here in Long Beach and in most urban cities, which is the lack of achievement by boys of color. I mean, 3/4 of whom are graduating high school but not meeting the A through G requirements so they can even go to a four-year college.
Right.
And so we use sports to teach them, you know, the same lessons that they learn in sports. You know, hard work pays off. You know, don't quit. You know, quitters never win, winners never quit. And if you get knocked down, get back up. And those same things that they learn. And as in sports, a kid, if you play sports probably, whatever the coach say do, you do. So they say give me 10, you give him 10. You don't ask questions. Right. But in the classroom, if the teacher says do something, then they may have comments and may not want to do it, whatever. So again, using sports as a vehicle, we teach them math, science, critical thinking, how to make good decisions, the powers and dangers of social media, and how to transform their beliefs. So we really want to put in them this mindset, because we know, again, as a man thinks, that's how he's going to do. So if we can get them to believe that they can be successful, that's half the battle.
How do you identify the youth that are in your program?
We don't cherry pick like a lot of programs, like where they go get the kids who are already motivated,
right,
and then provide them some help, because I was that kid, you know,
right,
who was motivated and got a lot of help from 6th grade through 12th grade, which is, again, another reason why we do what we do, because that's what happened in my life and changed my life. So I know if we can put our hands on them and keep our hands on them over an extended period of time, we can change their life. So the only requirement we have is that they be student athletes, that they play either organized sports for the school, the middle school, Long Beach Unified,
okay,
or they play in one of the recreational leagues or something like that.
So we're talking middle school age youth then.
That's right.
That are a part of this program.
That's right.
And then how often do you interact with them? Is it a weekly?
Well, we
monthly?
have a 2-week camp at
Okay.
Long Beach State at the College of Business. That's where we start this process. You
Okay.
know, so they understand that a process is different than a program.
Right.
Okay, program's got a beginning and an end. Okay,
Right.
process, we're just going to stay with them over a period of time. So we have kids now who've been in the program for 3 years,
Okay.
who are 10th graders. But the majority of them are still in middle school, and we've got a group that'll be going to high school in the fall. So that's the only requirement, that we don't care what kind of grades they get, we don't care about their family situations, as long as they can make a decision, because one of the principles, which is what we put into them, just a bunch of principles. And so they understand that in order to be successful, it only takes 3 things. You have to make a decision that you want to be successful, then you have to determine what it's going to cost you to achieve that success, and then you have to commit to pay that price. So we get them to buy into that principle, and then whenever they get off track, we just bring that principle back to them. In fact, one of the kids will be talking about it at the event we have planned. We were just at an event that the Hall of Fame put on, NFL Hall of Fame. And there was a Darryl Green and Aeneas Williams and Anthony Munoz. And at one point they had kids come and share what they had learned through this one-day event. So see, that's what, most of them get events and they have fun, but it doesn't stick. And so we volunteered one of our kids. And he said, Coach, man, I never spoke in front of like 3 or 4 kids before, and it was like 400 kids there. And we said, but again, one of our principles is that we put you in the deep water, either you're gonna learn how to swim or you're gonna drown. So you gotta do this, and I know you could do it. And he went out there and he did it, and he said afterwards it felt better than making a 3-point basket, you know, just to see the response he got, because we put him in a situation he had never been in. And you know, even if you fail, you won't fail the next time you do it.
But it allowed him to grow in a way that he never realized that he had that potential.
And his mother seen the video, she couldn't even believe it. She said, Mama, how did you get him to do that?
Right.
You know, and so that's what we do. Because again, that's what happened in my life. People put me in situations and showed me things that I didn't see on 84th and Quincy. And after you see them, and then you get to talk to the people who are doing them, you say, okay, well, if he could do that, I could do that.
Now, you're going to have a Boss Awards program, and when I looked at the list of the organizing committee, it's a who's who of people who've been involved in the community and otherwise, but for those who are watching and want to know more about that award ceremony, give us a snapshot of what's going to take place.
Well, again, BOSS stands for the Business of Success Beyond Sports, and so on the 26th of January at the Long Beach Airport Marriott, we will celebrate a group of individuals who we think are BOSS. These are people who have achieved great personal and professional success and made a difference in their communities beyond their participation in sports or through their participation in sports. So that, for example, Dr. Clarence Shield, who's one of the most renowned orthopedic surgeons in the country, part of the Curlin Job Orthopedic Clinic in Los Angeles. They operate on all these pros. He started a program called Team Heal, where they provide medical doctors and athletic trainers to under-resourced schools in Los Angeles, because these kids are playing football and they don't have a doctor on the sidelines in case something goes wrong. So we're recognizing Dr. Shield, Kevin Demoff, who's the Chief Operating Officer of the Los Angeles Rams. Mushin Muhammad played 14 years with the Carolina Panthers out of Michigan State, following in the example set by Magic Johnson. He's owning a private equity firm now, Axum Capital Partners.
Okay.
And then Mayor Butts of Inglewood for what he's done to transform that community.
Really
and
transforming
bring what he's bringing to that city.
Right.
And then we're going to recognize the CIF, which is the California Interscholastic Federation. They regulate high school sports. It was brought to our attention that 6 guys from the southern section, which is Southern California basically, are currently NBA All-Stars. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, Klay Thompson, and Kawhi Leonard. They all came out of this area.
Quite an accomplishment.
At one time.
At one time, right.
Yeah.
We only have, speaking of one time, I have less than 1 minute. What's the closing thought you want to leave with people about what you're doing through BOSS?
Well, we're putting into these kids what Mama and them put into us. And if we do that, we'll get a different result. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And we need help to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing the story. We're going to make sure that we do everything we can to get the word out, and come back and talk to us about what you're doing with BOSS when you get a moment.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, all right. I'd like to thank Emily Ann Ghosh and Everett Glenn for joining us on today's show. Be sure to follow PatNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We also welcome your comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Lands a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, helping people, changing lives. Thank you for watching Long Beach Lands.